Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Sid Alpha and welcome to this week's Line of Sight. I might not sound quite as energetic as normal today, which if any of you follow me on Twitter you would understand why. Also, there's a second reason is because I actually just finished recording this video, but I realized my feed was going to the wrong microphone and so I was literally not even recording myself, so that was fun. There's been a large controversy being aired out quite publicly within the games industry at the moment, which is why I brought up Twitter. However, despite this clearly being news, I have no clear way to separate myself from the subject, as I'm currently being attacked by certain ideological elements on social media over my opinion. I am, of course, speaking specifically about the Night in the Woods developer and all of the occurrences that have gone on over the course of the past week. It's a nasty situation, it is unpleasant, and it is a situation that is troubling for a great many reasons. That said, due to the extremely emotionally charged nature of the situation coupled with YouTube's clear penchant for deranking and demonetizing such content, I really don't feel comfortable pushing such things onto a channel that is not my own. I don't run the Exclusively Games YouTube channel, I merely create a once-per-week video series here, and as such, I'm choosing to remain respectful while I'm playing around in someone else's house, as it were. Hopefully, the talented reporters of the Exclusively Games website will be able to cover this topic in an objective fashion because I am clearly not in a position to be able to do that myself. Now, I apologize to everyone that was looking for a no-nonsense breakdown of this issue in particular, but I'll have to leave that to others that are more separated from the topic than I am. That said, we do have some good topics for everyone this week, but first I'd like to talk to you all about the series' unofficial sponsor that in fact gives us no money whatsoever, bacon. Yes, bacon. Whether it be fried, baked, chopped, deep fried, served by itself in a sandwich, on a steak, or on a salad, bacon is the food that makes all other foods worth having. Hashtag not sponsored by bacon. And now that we got that out of the way, let's see what's on offer. For this week, we have Chucklefish. The developers of Starbound are under allegations of employee exploitation. PEGI defends the recent NBA 2K20 gambling advertisement. And EA's DICE state they hit rock bottom after Star Wars Battlefront 2. And now that we're all queued up, let's get started. Now, it takes passion to work as a developer in the video games industry. Passion, creativity, talent, and a fair amount of luck, just like within so many other industries. And as a certain amount of luck is involved, invariably, we will run into instances where people will be taken advantage of for the direct monetary benefit of others. That is what has been recently alleged regarding Chucklefish and their game Starbound. On August 27th, Damon Reese posted on Twitter his experience working on the game Starbound, in which he described working for hundreds of hours without compensation, and that he was not the only person who worked on the game under similar circumstances. Shortly after posting this, we saw corroboration by way of a few other developers that also worked on the game, such as Ro Watson, a graphic artist for the game and founder of Igloosoft Games. Along with her was concept artist Christine Crossley, who also stated, quote, "I put in at least 100 hours of work and didn't see any sort of compensation. I was really naive and too afraid to ask to be paid because anyone who did would be screamed at." Clark Powell, a musical composer, also corroborated this with the following statement on Twitter. "I almost did the audio and music for Starbound, almost until the director told me that this was going to be unpaid. He revealed that none of the artists or coders were getting paid either, and I said, that didn't seem right to me. He just exploded at me after that. He launched into this foul-mouthed screed about how entitled I was and that he would just do the music himself because I was probably bad at my job anyway. All the artists and coders present for it just went silent until he was done. It clearly wasn't the first time. I spoke to some of the workers afterward. They had all been given promises of future pay, continuing because of all the time and love they had already poured into Starbound. Their passion for games was abused by an industry star, and it wasn't an isolated incident. Now, I myself reached out to the president of Chucklefish for comment, but 72 hours have passed and I do not have high hopes of receiving one. However, Chucklefish did respond to Screen Rant, in which they said the following. "We're aware and saddened by the current allegations against Chucklefish regarding Starbound's early development. During this time, both the core crew and community contributors were collaborating via a chat room and dedicated their time for free. Community contributors were under no obligation to create content, work to deadlines, or put in any particular number of hours. Everyone was credited or remunerated as per their agreement. It's been almost a decade since Starbound's development first began, and from then, Chucklefish has grown considerably into an indie studio that has a a strong emphasis on good work practices, providing a welcoming environment for all employees and freelancers. Our door remains open to any related parties who wish to discuss their concerns with us directly. In spite of this, per PC Gamer, Damon Reese acknowledged that contracts were signed with an enticement of potential employment, and he refuted the part of Chucklefish's statement regarding deadlines, stating that they were indeed very much in place, just not formally. Reese said in response to this, "I was a naive newcomer to the industry and my trust was utterly betrayed. There is no moral defense for this. Regardless of any contract signed, it's massively unethical to allow workers to contribute huge amounts of content for no pay when you, the ostensible leader of the team, are walking away with millions of dollars in personal revenue share. If your game sells over 2.5 million copies and your only excuse for not treating people ethically is, but the dozens of teenagers whose labor we exploited signed contracts, you may need to do some soul searching." And that is a sentiment that at least most people should be able to agree with, I think, at least in theory. Talent and skill is a marketable commodity and is not something that should be without value. This follows along with the same line of people attempting to pay artists through exposure. It is advisable not to devalue yourself and by so doing also devalue others in your field. You do have marketable skills, don't give them away for free. Our next story involves the evolving and ever more bold actions of games developers and publishers to include gambling within their video games. And this time we're not just talking about the concept of loot boxes being quote-unquote gambling, but actual gambling within video games, such as the recent highly controversial trailer for 2K's NBA 2K20. NBA 2K20 is the upcoming latest in the yearly iterative sports video games market that now seems to grow progressively more bold with their monetization practices with each passing year. However, the latest trailer for NBA 2K20 My Team focuses on card packs, obtaining card packs, opening card packs, and even evolving card packs into more powerful versions like an NBA version of Pokemon. The trailer also includes actual traditional-style gambling elements for obtaining card packs and premium currency within the game. These mechanics include, but are certainly not limited to, a ball drop machine complete with flashy lights, a literal slot machine complete with events that provide additional rewards to keep people playing the slot machines. There's also a Wheel of Fortune that also allows the player to win premium currency, top-tier cards, or card packs of varying rarity, and one actor that keeps yelling "yeet" within the advertisement because that is apparently what all the cool kids are saying now. My apologies, I let a little bit of opinion slip in there. In response to the gratuitous nature of the advertisement's monetization focus, people have reached out to PEGI, the across-the-pond version of the US's ESRB. In response, PEGI Consumer Affairs had the following to say: "We've seen the announcement trailer of NBA 2K20 and noticed the controversy it has caused. We feel it is important to carefully explain when certain content is triggering the gambling descriptor in the PEGI system, but also to show when it does not at this moment. A video game gets the gambling content descriptor if it contains moving images that encourage and or teach the use of games of chance that are played/carried out as a traditional means of gambling. We use a help text to clarify this in more detail. This refers to types of betting or gambling for money that is normally played and carried out in casinos, gambling halls, and racetracks. This does not cover games where betting or gambling is simply part of the general storyline. The game must actually teach the player how to gamble or bet and or encourage the player to want to gamble or bet for money in real life. For example, this will include games that teach the player how to play card games that are usually played for money or how to play the odds in horse racing. It is important to stress that the controversial imagery played a central role in the trailer, but it may not necessarily do so in the game, which has not yet been released. At this point in time, PEGI can only comment on the trailer that has been made publicly available. The trailer includes imagery that is generally known from casinos, Wheel of Fortune, slot machines. Using this sort of mechanic to select an item or character or action by chance is not the same as teaching how to gamble for money in a casino. These differences currently prevent us from applying the gambling descriptor, but we are very aware that it may get too close for comfort for some people, and that is part of an internal discussion that PEGI is having for the moment. The games industry is evolving constantly and rapidly in recent years. As a rating organization, we need to ensure that these developments are reflected in our classification criteria. We do not base our decisions on the content of a single trailer, but we will properly assess how the rating system and the video games industry in general should address these concerns. So it would seem that, according to PEGI, as long as the video games industry does not actively teach people how to play gambling games of chance in real life, then it's not gambling. Our final story for the evening, because it's evening as I record this, will be a brief but important one nevertheless. It involves EA's DICE and their recent statements made in an interview with GamesIndustry.biz. The interview surrounds Star Wars Battlefront 2 EA and the now infamous pay-to-win monetization that DICE and EA had attempted to release the game with. In that interview, DICE reflects on those decisions, how it was rough for their team, and how potentially the game might have been received far differently had they not included that monetization. In that interview, Dennis Brainval, my apologies if I mispronounced that, said the following: "We hit rock bottom in terms of player sentiment, but now it's climbing every month. We're delivering more content this year than we did in the first year, which is also a sign of a healthy game. The community's happier than it's ever been, especially with the big announcement yesterday. I think we had to take a step back. The team had to look at itself in the mirror a little bit, pick ourselves up from a really rough Christmas for everyone, and then just get back to work." In the article, they discuss the upcoming content that is being created to coincide with the soon-to-be-released Star Wars movie. The article finishes, ironically enough, with a statement that directly contradicts the tenets of Kylo Ren. Brainval said, "That's been the key to going forward. Respect the past. I'm not sure if we did a good job of that early on, but I think we do a much better job now." So while DICE does not ascribe to the Rian Johnson ways, they do sound optimistic for the future of Battlefront 2. But that's all the time we have for you on this week's Line of Sight. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you'd like to hear more from me on these topics or the topic that I discussed about not being able to discuss, make sure to follow me on my channel at youtube.com/SidAlpha. In the meantime, I might go pick up some bacon. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am Sid Alpha, and I'll see you next time.